signing you into a new Outlook for Windows. No, I can get out of this.
Just use all of the standards. Just continue. I'm going to.
Apply settings.
You can apply. I'm going to send you.
That's extra.
I'm going to send you an email with a shortcut for the meeting.
Okay. He's about to come in tonight. No, I gotta go slow.
He's not feeling good.
Really?
He's not feeling good.
How are you, Lauren? I was going to say, Georgia have great names for you.
And I'm going to keep to I would love to. I need to be able to share my screen.
I would try to
All right, so I gotta finish. person please log on to the Zoom?
Yeah, no.
No one's stuck in attendees, right? You guys all? I think we should. Then probably won't last an hour. And then we'll go on to our 7 o'clock when we will have our ended up like almost $100. So it's like you guys are here.
I need to connect to Zoom.
No, this is my power. That's power supply. Is it this? No, my power is connected over there. Like, can you put your power supply with this fella right here? So this is how they're connected. We don't want to get this laptop. No. Where is the laptop going to go to project? I don't mind having Zoom for my laptop. But like my notes and stuff. That's what I am. Okay. I am going to ask you to Amelia, please hook up this laptop back to this lock so that we can project. I also need this. Yeah, I think I just go on to anywhere where there's oh, yeah. You know where it's not projecting the man's laptop, you need to project on laptop. Where is on laptop? Okay, just need to put it right here. So this does not require the right here. That can't go on. This is right. Yes. Sorry about that. We get right to the milligram in the back. Yes, it's stuck in the grab it. Ready? So the which cord? Here's a cord that goes up under there. Okay. I'll make sure nothing falls in my end. Okay.
Do you want me to pull it? Yeah. Please see it. Okay, well, I don't want to pop this.
A lot to do with that. Is all the cord I got? Turn down that phone. Okay. All right. You pull it. It's very short. All right. Yes. You're ready to pull it through the hole. Don't let it get long. Got it? Yeah, pick it up. Did you get it?
It has to lean again.
Call Jesse. Call Jesse. Call Jesse. This cord, nowhere else on it again.
Ryan's on his way over here.
Yes.
Okay.
It's very, it's really thin. I cannot get this cord to get closer to this. Do you have an extension cord?
Do you want to put like the laptop underneath? Like,
Yeah.
It seems like it's do you want to raise it, but let's not. Is it out? I don't know.
No, it can't. No. That's the two pieces of wood jammed together. How many counts are we going to take? Okay.
Oh, we have 14.
Jesse.
Justin, do you have an extension cord? This one right here. This cord. Can't get it to right there.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So we're going to be putting this in. Oh, Jesse's going to put it.
Nope.
I'll grab it.
I see all this capital project.
That's it. That's all it was. Thank you.
Just what I think that folks are like, I mean, I know we're going to
Okay.
We need to make a lot.
I was looking for exciting. You know that? You know.
All right, thank you very much. Our folks are going to get their seats and managers are going to judge it. We do have our home tonight. It is a very full house. Welcome to all here. Thank you so much. We have a mixture of hybrid, so we have some of our council members in person and some of our council members are online. In the room with us, we have, well, let me guess this number, 50 people. Thanks for coming.
Sorry. Since I waited half an hour and you guys couldn't organize audio one too. I'm recuperating from the norovirus, so I'm highly contagious. I tried to spare you people, but you couldn't set up a Zoom.
Man, if you are very contagious, please do not be in this room. It is on Zoom and on Facebook Live. Someone can talk to you offline, but we are beginning the meeting now.
Okay, well, I'm leaving this, and I want it entered in the record. I've Purelled myself. This shouldn't be contagious, but I can't stick around here.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for being patient and being with us, and for the folks in the room, the
good you're still here. Thank you. I'm going to do our roll call. Our clerk is in the with us, but I will begin to call our legislative council members. You guys ready? All right. In the room with us, we have Councilperson Jim Anthony.
Here.
Minority Leader Bob Anthony is not with us. He is under the weather, so we're going to hope that he feels better. We also have with us Councilwoman Wanda Caldwell here. Councilmember Tom Figler.
Here.
Councilwoman Tasha Hunt. Here. Councilperson Katie Kiley.
Here.
Councilman Joel Mario.
Here.
Councilman Ted Stevens. Thank you, Ted Stevens. Councilwoman Lori Sweet. Also online, we have Councilman Adrian Weber, Councilwoman Sarah Gallagher, and in person, we have Councilperson Sean Cardwell. All right, we have very few people missing tonight, so thank you again for being here with us. I will take some hand sanitizer. As we continue on to the evening, I want to say that we are calling this meeting to order now at 6:32, so I will continue to say thank you for your patience as we have a few very, very simple technical issues in here. So I am so happy to introduce our lovely Mayor Lauren Garrett to give her budget delivery for this 24-25 budget. Please welcome. All right, can everyone hear me? Hear me online? Okay, all right. All right, good evening, council members and residents of the town of Hamden. It is my honor to present to you tonight the fiscal year 25-26 budget for the town of Hamden. This budget was produced with thoughtful consideration of resident feedback with plans that will significantly reduce the mill rate, address education funding, and continue to develop programs that improve housing quality, traffic calming, and quality of life. Our financial improvements are a real success story. We've grown the fund balance to over $24 million. We've increased our bond rating from all three rating agencies, Fitch, S&P, and Moody's. We've updated Hamden's financial policies and procedures manual for the first time in 30 years, and we include it every year with the budget now. It includes a fund balance policy to protect our fund balance. We've also drafted Hamden's first 5-year plan for a stabilized financial outlook. This is our 3rd year producing a 5-year plan. We also completed the revaluation on time, which the state was surprised by. I think a lot of municipalities are having trouble with that. Now, the impact and importance of our financial improvements mean that we can improve our interest rate when we borrow. We're not forced to borrow to meet the needs of an emergency or for reimbursement grants. And at our auditor's direction, we can fund capital projects through the fund balance and then bond to replenish those dollars after the project is complete, which really means that we don't have to borrow for extra contingency costs. Now, grants are fantastic for Hamden. It means that we have funding for projects without going to the taxpayers. The downside is that projects take a little longer to get off the ground, and we have to follow all of these processes. It's not, you get the grant award, and then you have shovels in the ground. It's a 16-step process. One of the grants that we've received is for Fire Station 2. Our design team is under contract and preparing to submit the final draft of a feasibility study. The fire department, engineering department, public works department, and animal control are all working to develop plans for this site. The town has 4 major needs. The fire station 2 needs to be replaced and built to modern standards. We need to have an emergency operations center in the most densely populated region of town. We need a fuel depot to decrease fuel use. We have long refueling times because many trucks that are in southern Hamden have to go up to our public works department on Shepherd Avenue. having a second fueling station in southern Hamden, we can save energy, we can save time. And Hamden doesn't have an animal shelter, and it's time we have a safe and modern space to care for our animal population. We've received a congressionally designated spending award for $963,000. This is for Hamden Police Department communications for encrypted radios. It replaces old radios, and we should have that new equipment within 3 months. We received $625,000 from our federal delegation for energy efficiency upgrades at the government center. It's for replacing old, outdated HVAC so that we can save energy. Recent communication from the Department of Energy is that our award is moving, but it was significantly delayed by the recent federal administration change. Some work should be beginning this spring. We received $3 million for the replacement of Glow Street Bridge. This is kind of an interesting project because this is a pretty rural area and not a lot of traffic. So what our initial plan was to close down the bridge, put in a cul-de-sac so that we didn't have to pay to replace an expensive bridge. But the federal government came in with a federal local bridge program. It's 100% funded, which means that we don't have to pay for the design costs. So that's a really great win for Hamden. We have about $3.8 million for traffic signal lights. This is for traffic signal replacement from Dixwell Avenue and Shepherd to Dixwell and Colony Parkway. It improves visibility and improves traffic flow, which is why it has this air quality mitigation in it. We received $750,000 for planning and development for the drainage in New Hall from the Community Investment Fund. We've had a project kickoff. The team is collecting data. Now, the remainder of the award is for $8.5 million, and once we have a more developed plan, we go back to the state for the rest of the money. This is for the Hamden Community Campus Phase 1. We are demolishing the old academic building with $5.4 million from the Department of Economic and Community Development. We are in designs. Designs will be complete this spring, and we can go out to bid for demolition this summer. So by this summer, we expect to be able to demolish this building, which is a huge feat for us. This is, again, Phase 1, and it is the renovation and abatement, some partial demolition for the gymnasium building to put in a youth arts and recreation center. This layout shows a gym and a stage for some performances. We have obligated all of our American Rescue Plan Act funds. Some of the projects include New Hall Foundation. Haley Aldridge is investigating and designing work required to repair foundations. They are also working on language so that we can submit a grant for construction by the end of the month. We use some of the ARPA funds for the community center. We use some of the ARPA funds for small business grants and support. We awarded 17 small businesses with grants to help reimburse costs from COVID, as well as investments into their business. We also funded the Coordinated Access Network to help people who are experiencing homelessness and connect them with housing and services. We got SCBA equipment for the fire department, which replaces old equipment with new, safer breathing apparatus for our firefighters. And we're funding a study for the Whitney Avenue drainage, and this is a study to extend sewers on Whitney Avenue north of Mount Carmel. I appreciate the work of the Legislative Council for hearing community input, selecting and approving projects. A little bit more on the New Hall Foundation evaluation project. We've sent out questionnaires through Haley Aldridge, and we have a lot of surveys returned, 118 that are within the consent order boundary, 6 in the New Hall Design District. We've received input on the survey responses show water issues, foundation issues, both water and foundation issues. Some don't have issues. And this is their timeline for the work that Haley and Aldridge is doing. They are investigating the repairs that are needed, designing the repairs, and preparing bid construction documents. So when we have those documents, we can go out to bid on the design, on the construction work that's needed. Now, while Haley and Aldridge is doing all of this work with the investigations and designs, they're also developing language for us so that we can put in a grant application to the state of Connecticut to fund this important work. We've received $8.6 million for affordable housing on State Street from the Community Investment Fund. This is a joint application with Regan Development. It's for 63 units of affordable housing that's deeply affordable. And the $8.6 million helps to pay for infrastructure and pedestrian improvements near the development. And the Department of Economic and Community Development said that this is the exact type of project they're looking to fund. It was the largest award in round 4. These are some more affordable housing developments that are coming up. They've all been approved through planning and zoning with affordable units all around town. We have been working on traffic calming quite a bit. Our engineering and traffic departments have designed the traffic calming at many locations, and work is completed by our Public Works Department. And this saves the town money. We're doing all of this work in-house. A few locations were completed last fall, with several more planned for this construction season. We're also getting red light and speed enforcement cameras. The contract with our vendor, SiteStream, is on the council agenda for tonight. We installed speed tables on Mather Street. On Howard Drive, an island in the center to slow people down. And on Brook Street in Wintergreen, we narrowed the intersection to provide safer pedestrian crossing as well as slowing people down around the corner. We have designs for Gator Hill, West Todd in front of Westwood School, Gilbert Avenue, Rochford Avenue, and Marathon Avenue. This is a really exciting and powerful project for the town of Hamden. This is bus rapid transit, so it's higher capacity transportation, public transportation, fewer stops, and shorter travel times. So what this means is that the buses have a chip in them so that when they get to an intersection, the light turns green, clears the intersection, and you can commute faster on a bus than in a car. These improvements add pedestrian safety and measures to increase walkability in the corridor. What's really great about this is that it's all funded by DOT. There are no Hamden dollars in this. I'm really excited to work with the City of New Haven and the Department of Transportation on this project. We're planning to submit a joint grant proposal with New Haven for the Dixwell Reconnection Project. Now this includes streetscape and facade improvements, roadway and infrastructure improvements, and affordable housing to revitalize the Dixwell Avenue corridor. Right. This is some sidewalk improvement that we've done. We replaced over a mile of sidewalks in 2024. Sidewalks take a long time to replace. They're slow going, they take longer to construct and drive. Paving is much faster, so a mile of sidewalks is really great. They're also more expensive than just paving. All right. This is our Tom Swamp Road culvert. This was a culvert that was failing. We designed the replacement in-house. We had a contractor help us, and Public Works performed a lot of the work, and with the replacement and paving, so that we can, again, save taxpayers dollars. These are some of our infrastructure accomplishments. We paved 24.5 miles of roads in 3 years, installed 3.5 miles of sidewalks. We have started implementation of complete streets. We planted over 100 trees. We have climate sustainable infrastructure improvements. We received our Sustainable CT Silver certification and Climate Leader designation. We are also trying to reduce the amount of waste going into landfills. because that saves us money. We now have textile collection programs. There are 5 locations to drop off textiles. And in the first 2 months, we've collected 3,370 pounds and received a rebate of $204. Now that's kind of measly, but the really important part is that the textile pounds are not going into our tipping fees, they're not going into landfills. We also are working on a food scrap recycling program. This is again waste diversion. So residents who use Meals on Wheels, they also drop off food scraps to the transfer station. We are one of a few municipalities that actually have a permit for food scraps at our transfer station. And we'll be applying for a grant to be able to have a food scrap and compost program at the transfer station, hopefully saving us more on our town fees. The Hamden Police Department achieved full staffing for the first time in 20 years, and we've hired a crisis intervention team outreach coordinator. And some of our positive results include a drug investigation that led to seizure of 2 guns and narcotics, including fentanyl, I believe last week, as well as crime has been decreasing in Hamden. So we have an 8% decrease among all crime categories in Hamden. We love celebrating diversity in Hamden. We've had many multicultural events throughout several years. We celebrate Kwanzaa, Pre-King's Day. We've had a holiday hula and Feliz Navidad, Silver Bells, Hanukkah, Caribbean Festival, Pride Festival. We love celebrating it all. Juneteenth, Earth Day, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and our 4th of July fireworks. And with the Arts Commission, concerts throughout the summer. We are putting a lot of economic development up in Hamden. We've welcomed over 20 new businesses to Hamden with ribbon cuttings throughout the year. It's really an honor to be able to celebrate the work that businesses have done to open up in Hamden. We are working on a small business assistance program by creating spaces and events for small businesses to promote themselves and sell their products. And we're working with the Hamden Chamber of Commerce and their business support system. We have small business grants for facade improvements along State Street and Dixwell Avenue in Southern Hamden. And we're helping small businesses navigate the steps to open a small business, connect to capital, expand, and succeed. We are working on some ordinances to help incentivize economic development, to help commercial property owners improve their property. So this includes a tax deferral program for businesses looking to expand or develop a property. Now within that, the tax deferral is only based on the improvements made. So there's no loss in tax revenue, just helping them out while they're working on the improvements that they're making. They're paying a lot of money for these improvements, and we want to help them on the town side so that they're incentivized to do those improvements. We're also going to incentivize commercial property owners to develop vacant properties. We've made a lot of technology improvements. One of them is ClearGov. This is our budget software that we've implemented this year. Now, this implementation was a heavy lift, but it'll save time in the future years because once the budget book is built, all you have to do is add to it and make some changes. The budget is searchable. It provides graphs. It provides 5-year actuals so that the residents, the legislative council, everyone can see and track what is going on with the budget and our revenues and expenses. We have Civic Clerk now. All boards and commissions and legislative council agendas and minutes are in Civic Clerk. It's user-friendly, more transparent. It streamlines the process for posting agendas, and agendas have a standard template, so you know what to look for in the agenda. We have Zoom rooms. This is our final Zoom room, and we have construction going on in here, but it helps connect The council are commissions with the public. It provides for hybrid meetings with an easy-to-use technology. It increases transparency and engagement with the public and allows for more participation. We are also saving on our licensing fees by using the technology we have to evaluate processes in all departments and managing the software under one account to reduce redundancy. These are some of our budget drivers: education, medical, pension, debt, contractual obligations. Now, with regard to education, Governor Lamont's proposal to help special education costs is additional funding for special education in fiscal year 26 and 27. It includes a high-quality special education incentive grant program to incentivize districts that provide special education in districts or regionally rather than outplacing students. So a lot of the special education costs that are really out of control is from outplacing students. And this is across the state, it's not just Hamden. So this program also provides districts that build out capacity for special education, meaning that if Hamden schools need a classroom that has specialized equipment, there are grant opportunities to fund that equipment. The State Department of Education will study special education outplacement costs with a plan to set rates. So again, helping us to control special education costs by rate setting the outplacements. We have more predictable special education costs in the future. To take advantage of these incentives, Hamden Public Schools need funding to achieve this plan. So the Board of Education budget requests $101 million, $436,000. This budget fully funds the Board of Education request of 3.68%. And if you look at some of the numbers throughout the years, during the 21 to 23 fiscal years, the Board of Education was getting a lot of money through ESSERS. It's the federal COVID grant money that was coming through. This money really helped to supplement their costs. That money has run out, and consistently the Board of Education needs 3.5% to 4% to fund their contractual obligations, their increases in salary, special education, and transportation. Now, with the governor's proposal for special education, there's a real possibility that we can bring that cost down, but it's really going to take a good plan in order to get us to a place where special education funding is consistent and predictable. Medical is another budget driver. We went out to bid my first year in office, and we have been very successful at having lower increases than surrounding municipalities. While other municipalities are seeing double-digit increases in medical, we are anticipating a 3% increase. We negotiated on prescription drug costs, and we have negotiated savings for stop loss. This is for the pension. We fully funded the pension, the actuarially determined contribution in 2021. The allocation is determined by market conditions and obligations. This is year 10 since the town took out pension obligation bonds, meaning that we have an opportunity now to refinance those bonds this summer for savings on the bonds. This is a refinance, not a refunding. I want to talk a little bit about the revaluation. The recent revaluation was required by state law, and the process was conducted by licensed assessors through an independent firm. The assessments are done in strict accordance with state law and professional standards. This ensures that all properties in Hamden are assessed fairly and equitably. The state determines when municipalities must complete a revaluation. By state statute, we had to do the revaluation for the 2024 grant list. Now, I have insisted on transparency throughout the revaluation. We've held 4 public meetings, and all information can be found on the website, including information you would need to appeal your assessment. The grant list is the total assessed value of all the tax property in Hamden. The grant list increased by 40%. The assessors team cleaned up the grand list and added properties that were not included in the grand list and should have been. So properties were not being taxed and should have been. That is fixed now. Growth in the grand list increases state revenue to the town. Payment in lieu of taxes or pilot partially reimburses for non-tax properties. For example, Quinnipiac does not pay taxes on educational spaces, so the state partially reimburses the town for this. When the assessors went through to value property for Quinnipiac and other non-tax properties, you still have to assess those properties. Those assessments increased as well, which means that pilot increases. The growth in the grand list allows us to reduce the mill rate. Now, Hamden has larger debt and liabilities to budget for. We've known for years that we have a lot of debt and liabilities, the most per capita in the state of Connecticut, from years of mismanagement. But despite those obligations, our spending per capita is in line with similar sized towns. So just in case you can't read all of that, Stamford, New Haven, Hartford, Hamden, Manchester, well, Hamden, Milford, Stratford, they all have very similar spending per capita. So how do we do this? It means that we reduce costs by doing more work in-house with fewer employees. This is the budget summary. Our total expenses this year for my budget are $313 million. So this shows Board of Education, fringe benefits, public safety costs, pension, debt, general government, public works. Now, the mill rate, we're going from 55.61 to 46.61, which is a reduction of 9 mills, 16.18% decrease on the mill rate, which is really exciting because it helps to bring us in line with other municipalities so that Hamden's not the highest mill rate town. What you also notice when you look at what some of the property taxes are in surrounding towns is that for the same size house, the tax bills are very similar. If you have a 1,400 square foot house in Hamden versus Woodbridge, you're going to be paying more taxes in Woodbridge. The difference is that our mill rate has always been higher. This actually helps us to bring it down below Woodbridge. All right, some budget highlights. It addresses the threat to the disruption of federal funding, particularly for education, maintains services and funds obligations. We included a salary study for non-union positions for recruitment and retention. We have a large mill rate reduction. Looking forward, we are improving affordability in Hamden both through affordable housing and decreasing the mill rate. We're implementing the Complete Streets policy to make Hamden more accessible for pedestrians, bicyclists, and public transportation users. Our economic revitalization from southern Hamden to northern Hamden is making Hamden an exciting place to live and work. We're improving the delivery of town services, a lot through technology. We're ensuring that everyone feels safe shopping, living, and enjoying Hamden. We're continuing to celebrate our diversity with intention through cultural events, hiring practices, and supporting small businesses. And I want to take a minute to just thank the finance team, my team, for all of the work that they've done in helping put this budget together. A big thank you to Brian Murphy for building out our new budget software. Stephen White helped out a lot with the capital budget. The finance department. I want to thank the legislative council for all of the work that you're all going to do in the coming months. And I want to thank the taxpayers for the work that they do in funding this lovely town that we have. And it's really my honor to help deliver the services for the town and make this town a better place to live. And I appreciate the work that we all do together. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now, before we go ahead and make our motions to receive the budget, I'm now going to take public input. We have a lot of folks here as well as online, we have 74 attendees online. So I'm going to alternate between both the public who are present in person and the public that are on our Zoom. So at this time, I'm going to open up public input, and I'm going to let folks know there is a 3-minute limit to your input tonight. So please keep it to 3 minutes. We are going to be taking public input at every meeting. We take it at every meeting. There's also a public hearing date, and there's opportunities at the host at the end of our deliberations to also give public input. So when you come up, please keep it to 3 minutes. Introduce yourself, that's name and also where you live. And if folks are not familiar with the Legislative Council, we are not able to have a Q&A or back and forth with the public input, but rather we are listening to your questions, your input, and what your comment is, and we are, as a Legislative Council, internalizing those comments. So throughout the process, we are able to answer those questions or give those answers to your questions rather, and really put that input and commentary into our minds while we're doing our deliberations. With that being said, I think I'm ready to open up this public input. I also want to let people know that you can also give public input via email. On all of our agendas is an email address that you can give public input before the meeting, every meeting, all right? If you check our agenda, you'll see LC public input at hamden.com. Okay, so our first in person, Ms. Mule, come on up.
Turn on your microphone. Hang on, turn on your microphone. It is the man, the echo out of his mouth. You see it?
Kathy Mulo, Dunbar Hill area, and I'm sorry that the mayor has stepped out at this point. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I did, sorry, I better stop there, I didn't see you. I felt it was important to speak tonight because for the last several months, there have been several hot button issues discussed at these meetings. And although I appreciate you have a life outside of being mayor, Sean Grace was not the person who should have been here to address the constituents. And for that, I think he failed this time. They wanted to hear it from the leader. If your budget includes raises for any of your staff, tonight should have been rescheduled and gone back to the drawing room. If your budget includes raises for any town employee, it should have been rescheduled and gone back to the drawing board. If your budget addresses any new hires in your administration, it should have been rescheduled and gone back to the drawing board. I was a little upset to see that all we did was address that there were some concerns with funding and grants at levels with the current federal administration. I think a much more proactive stance needed to be taken to plan ahead for the state of our federal government in both the United States of America and globally, because it will have a huge effect and a very large effect on the taxpayers that you thank for attending tonight and paying to fund the debt. I'm very upset that your budget included an increase to the Board of Ed. Yet when you spoke about the increase fully funding salaries, special ed, and contractual obligations, and there was a fourth thing that I missed, I didn't write fast enough. Unfortunately, what it failed to talk about was the students in the town of Hamden for that increase. And for that, I hold you accountable. Your budget also includes that community center, which again, was the hot button topic here for months, that nobody wants, that we can't afford to sustain in this town. And for that, you should have rescheduled and gone back to the drawing board. And you should have rescheduled and gone back to the drawing board because from the first meeting I attended with the assessors, the purpose of the assessments was revenue neutral, and nowhere in your budget with that, no rate decrease, did I hear revenue neutral.
Thank you. I'm going to take our next person from our Zoom audience. Milan, I am putting you in the area to speak. You have the floor. Okay, Milan, with your hand up, you have the floor. You unmuted for a moment, but then you muted yourself back. We are unable to hear you. Okay. I believe you're having technical difficulties, so I'm going to take the next online person. I'm going to put you back into our audience. Hopefully you're able to get an external microphone because we cannot hear you over here. I apologize. Susan Nobleman, you have the floor.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yes. My name is Susan Nobleman, and I live in the Shepherd Glen area of Hamden on Earl Avenue. I've lived in Hamden for approximately 70 years. I understand that the council and mayor's office are planning to spend about $10 million on a community center in the New Hall neighborhood, but that community meetings have shown that the residents living there would rather have their unfinished repairs of their properties be funded first. I'm here to offer my support for the Foundation's first campaign. Before spending funds on a new building, funds should be secured for the surrounding neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Back into our audience. All right, I'll take our next in-person again. Mr. Levinson, come on up.
Thank you. My name is George Levinson. I live on Shepherd Avenue. And as many of you know, I've been watching this budget forever. And I've got to say that what we should be looking at is where the spending is going. Our mayor has done a lot of things that are pretty good for this town, and she's located a lot of extra funding sources and things like that are great. And frankly, I'm happy that we have an administration now that is willing to be involved and willing to come to work. Our last administration didn't. At any rate, I am concerned about spending. In the last 3 years, the mayor's budget has increased by $40 million. This year, if I understand from, this is the first I've heard about the budget, it's going to be about $11 million, which I would hope to be less, but that number by itself doesn't necessarily make me crazy. I would warn the public, first of all, do not get sucked in by the idea that the mill rate is going to save you. All that matters is how much is spent. And if the budget goes up, then the taxes generally are going to go up. Maybe not as much as you might fear, but you know, the only way to hold taxes down is to hold spending. And this town has gone down a road of overspending forever, and that needs to be handled. I get that other towns may spend as much, but when you tell me that a prosperous town spends the same amount per capita that Hamden does, I go, those people are lucky. Because Hamden is not a big, prosperous, rich town. And we should hold our spending down. One thing specifically that I wanted to mention in the spending is this year, the police contract and the fire contract are both coming up for renewal. And both of these town contracts have provisions that cripple this town financially. And those contracts need to be negotiated very hard, and we need to fix some things. Like, we don't need 23 firefighters around the clock. We don't need over 100 police officers when the requirement is for 7 patrolmen, 8 on weekends. We don't need that. Unfortunately, I have a bit of a bone to pick with the mayor. She had an opportunity to not hire back all the retired positions in the police department, which we could well afford, and instead she replaced every one of them. So now we're stuck with an overstaffed police department, probably as long as we can see. Same thing with fire. So those contracts need to get negotiated hard, and I hope that the mayor is successful with those and a lot of the other programs that will enrich the life here in Hamden. We all want that, but we don't want it to cost us more than it should. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williamson. All right, I'm going to take my next online person, Ms. Patricia Dennis-Silvestre. You can now have the floor.
Good evening, I'm going to assume that you can hear me. So, I just did some quick and dirty math, I can do that. And our taxes are going to go up. Specifically, for every $100,000 that your house has gone up in its reval, your taxes will go up by $3,000. So this 46.61 is not a savings, and there is certainly not any neutrality about it. That's one. Two, as other people have said before me, we need to be paying more attention to the people whose foundations are in dire trouble, becoming non-existent, and that's more important than a community center. Remember, community is not about a building, community is about people. And if you take away people because they cannot afford to stay in Hamden, then what are you trying to tell us? Are you trying to tell us that we're not welcome here, that we can only be here if we have a larger income and can afford to be here? You don't need us, you don't want us? Not a good sign. And finally, remember that if you up the BOE, it stays up, it never goes down. Remember that our economy is not holding steady, it's certainly not becoming better for anybody except the 1% at the top. And this is going to hit us hard, it's going to hit most of us hard, and we're going to be sorry if we're not careful and take some steps to save our town and ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patricia. We now have our in-person hand. Come on, Mr. Moses.
Good evening. My name is Donald Moses. And first of all, on a previous matter, I must begin by commending the council for their outcry to denounce bigotry relevant to Hamden being a safe haven for the cultural and racial diversity we encourage, as is illustrated in one of our previous, most recent council meeting. Now, as we strive to enhance economic vitality of Hamden, we must also keep in mind that economic development encompasses much more than simple brick and mortar. In caring for the health and well-being of Hamden's residents, we purport to foster a community where all are welcome. However, the quest to create true diversity requires attention to the socioeconomic inequality throughout Hamden. The racial and economic disparity within the Highwood community that known as Southern Hamden does not receive a similar outcry, which demonstrate an intentional neglect of a community that has the largest population of Black residents within Hamden. Celebrating the diversity of Hamden's requires more than Kwanzaa, Juneteenth, and Caribbean Fest celebration in order to validate our efforts to create an inclusive, resilient, and vibrant community. Festivities by themselves will not do it. The New Hall section of the Highwood community remains plagued with contaminants at elevated levels, such as lead, arsenic, and PAH, all of which is hazardous for residential occupancy. But we continue to address the problem as merely sinking home foundations. The Highwood community has one of the largest populations of seniors, which are the most susceptible to contaminants that can be fatal. With such, the Hamden New Hall community can be considered the Flint, Michigan of 2025. This is where the neglect of the government administration have not even considered a public health response. We talk about foundation, we don't talk about how the contaminant has affected people's health. But we have proceeded, to propose a Houdini method of governance that essentially put the health concern on ice while we wait for the state bonding process to approve funding for remediation. The $10 million is readily available. Such behavior demonstrates the intent of the government administration to blatantly disregard the well-being of the Highwood community. The Flint, Michigan method of governance should not be tolerated in Hamden. Throughout the past 4 years, Hamden has received an influx of funding from the sale of Wintergreen School for $16 million and inherited $17 million of ARPA funds from the previous administration. Nowhere that I'm aware of have the governor and legislative administration set aside a meager portion of the $16 million to create a coffee area for future restoration of the Highwood community. Contamination and the pittance of ARPA funds committed to the remediation have gone to the engineering firm and community engagement specialist, with an illusion of restoration, while the residents of the New Hall community continues to ingest the contaminants. Believe it or not, like it or not, residents of Hamden and the government legislation administration are partners in the quest to achieve economic vitality and should work to guide innovative strategies to promote a shared sense of ownership of Hamden as home. A response and recovery plan is needed. I have not heard one. So if one does exist, I'd like to have it presented to the public at some point. Justice for Hamden contaminated community is long overdue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Do we have another hand from our online group? Alon, you still have your hand up, so I'm going to put you in the area to speak. Please unmute yourself and have the floor.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, yay. All right, great. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. My name is Adrienne Lang, and I'm on Riverside Drive in Hamden. And I've been here for 25 years. And it was interesting to listen to the proposals I've heard for statements of quality of life, economic revitalization, and everyone feeling safe here living in Hamden, and to make Hamden a better place to live. We have a little bit of a specific problem here, and so I'd like to speak on the special permit application for the building at 2795 Whitney Avenue, which is right at the corner of the street. And that permit is to expand the commercial business to include personal services. There are several problems with adding personal services to this commercial building. One major one is parking. Currently, the building has 14 spaces, and the expanded proposal shows 23 businesses, units in the building. And I understand that the traditional parking calculations based on square footage, this could be enough, but it won't be enough for 23 businesses. And then the use is going to require much more, and clients coming in for services are going to end up parking down the street and on the road. The street parking, be hazardous for people getting in and out of cars. The corner of South New Road is a short distance away from the building. This intersection has been notorious for speeding and disregarding the stop sign. Vehicles are coming from the Quinnipiac campus and use this route as a shortcut to the connector. With Riverside Drive being about 3 cars wide, not 4, the added parking and the people on the road are an accident waiting to happen. There are other problems also. No effort has been made to date for handicapped access. Opening this business to personal services will make this lack a true barrier for people wanting to come and get service there. The property has not been kept clean over the last couple of years, and requests for cleanup have never produced a maintained result. Property has also been in violation of town codes, and the owner has not required the applicants to have use permits. It was even rented to residential occupants, and while the people were evicted, it took a long time and a lot of pressure. So, as a member of this community, in the neighborhood, I support economic development in Hamden. It just needs to be done the right way. I'd like to see this building operated in a clean, safe, and legal manner. The town would serve the residents and the business. If they would decline a special permit application, it's up to the building owner to show good faith by making the needed improvements first. So thank you, everyone, for your time. And been a long-time resident in Hamden, and happy to see the support from the town. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move back into our audience section, and I am taking another hand from our in-person audience, if you have one.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good. My name is Jameson Christopher Davis. I'm a longtime resident here in the town of Hamden. I currently serve as the president of the African American Society and founder of Writing Wrongs, which is an environmentally focused consulting firm. I appreciate the opportunity to submit testimony today. I'm here to speak on the environmental injustices that have plagued our low-income and neighborhoods of color for generations, literally centuries. This is not just about pollution. It's not about statistics. It's about our children, our elders, our homes, and our right to clean air, clean drinking water, and to live free from toxic harm. For far too long, the town of Hamden has refused to acknowledge its role in perpetuating disparities in low-income communities and communities of color. These neighborhoods have been intentionally targeted, often systemically, by economic and political powers to bear environmental burdens due to its racial and ethnic composition and its socioeconomic status. It is the lack of response and lack of sense of urgency displayed by elected local officials that affect these communities. The reality is that Hamden serves as a stark reflection on the broader environmental racism and injustices plaguing this nation, with the heaviest environmental burdens falling on low-income neighborhoods and communities of color. In late 1980s, the United Church of Christ conducted a groundbreaking national study on the racial and socioeconomic characteristics of communities burdened with hazardous waste materials. The report's core finding was stark and undeniable. Communities with higher percentages of non-white residents were far more likely to be targeted for toxic waste facilities. A disproportionate of sites were placed in urban areas where near black and brown Hispanic neighborhoods, deliberately exposing these communities to environmental hazards while others reap the economic benefits. Simply put, if you want to find the most polluted places in America, just follow the darkest person you can find home. Right here in Hamden, that same ugly, deliberate pattern exists. If you want to find the most contaminated places in this town, look no further than the black and brown neighborhoods. Communities where poverty rates are higher, voices are too often ignored, and environmental protections are conveniently overlooked. These neighborhoods have been sacrificed. Not just negligence, it's calculated, willful disregard for black and brown lives, and I, for one, will not stand for it. Mr. Moses mentioned something earlier about the presence of toxic chemicals like lead, arsenic, PAHs, excuse me. Let me just briefly address some of those chemical, harms. Lead poisoning robs our children of their future, stunts development, lowers IQ, causes lifelong cognitive damages. PAHs increase our risk of cancer and respiratory diseases. Arsenic exposures lead to heart disease, diabetes, neurological disorders, and many others. To put this in a little bit of perspective of how prevalent these issues are, consider this. Just last year, January 17, 2024, the EPA issued updated soil guidance, significantly lowering the screening levels for lead in residential soil. This change underscores the severity of lead contamination in our communities and urgent need for action. The new guidance establishes the following. The EPA lowered the screening level for lead from 400 parts per million to 200. At residential properties with multiple sources of lead exposure, such as water and air, EPA recommends a screening level of 100 parts per million in the residential area. But let me also acknowledge that the EPA also knows there is no safe level of exposure. 0, particularly for children. Lead can be severely harmful with mental and physical disabilities, slower learning, irreversible damage to the brain. No community should be treated as a dumping ground. No child should grow up breathing poisoned air or playing in toxic soil. We refuse to be ignored. We refuse to be sacrificed. Environmental justice is for all, without delay, without compromise, and without exception. Thank you.
All right, do we have a person online who would like to give public input tonight? I saw a hand for a moment. Anyone from our Zoom audience like to give public input tonight? Dr. Sicarini, you have the floor.
All right, you guys hear me okay? Thank you very much. Mario Ciccarini. I live on Westwoods Road here in Hamden, longtime resident. Just want to take a moment. As a member of the Hamden Board of Education, I would like to sincerely thank Mayor Garrett for recommending the board's proposed budget increase, 3.62%. As the mayor indicated, the school district's main cost drivers include special education costs, transportation, and contractual obligations through contracts with our various bargaining units. As we speak, school superintendents across the state are meeting and discussing ways to control the unpredictability of special education costs and their impact on school budgets. Mayor's inclusion in the Board of Education reflects a strong commitment to our students, educators, and the future of our schools. With these resources, we can continue to enhance academic programs, support our teachers, and ensure that every student in Hamden has access to a high-quality education. I appreciate the mayor for recognition of the importance of funding education in our community. I look forward to joining the district leadership team and my fellow Board of Ed members at future legislative council meetings to discuss the Board of Education budget request further. I want to thank all of you for the work you do to support all our residents, and I wish all of you a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I'm going to get back to our audience and take our next in-person hand for public input. Ms. Jeffers.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janika Jeffries, and I represent the 9th District. I live in the 9th District on Russo Drive. I couldn't sit there. I was just going to remain quiet, but I could not sit there and hear the cries of the people. You know, there's a saying that says, "Am I my brother's keeper?" And it should be a resounding yes. I've sat at several meetings over the last 2 months since I decided to enter the race for mayor. And I keep hearing the same rhetoric over and over. But the issue I have is that it seems to me nobody's listening. If we're truly public servants and not just politicians or politricksters, then what the people have to say should hold some weight in the town. And what I've heard is that the people in the 5th and the 3rd District are hurting. I've been to the meetings, and I've heard them say, listen, we don't want a community center. How can we possibly build in a place and say we're building a community when the community is crumbling from underneath them? So I want to say to the people from the 1st all the way through the 9th District is that I hear you. And the new administration that will come in will hear you. And in terms of a mill rate reduction or any of that, me being a real estate broker, I understand that the way you turn a town around economically is that you have to incentivize viable, lucrative businesses to come into the town. And I'm not talking about smoke shops and liquor stores and nail salons. But I'm talking about true manufacturing and industry, okay? Future forward-thinking businesses that can increase our tax base and then take the financial burden off the residents, of which I am a victim as well. So it behooves me to find a solution. And forgive me if I come across maybe a little impassioned or emboldened, but I can feel what the people in this town are saying. And my slogan was, it's time for us to wake up the sleeping giant. Because somebody's been sleeping at the wheel while our taxes have been creeping up, while crime has been increasing. And then they turn a deaf ear and a blind eye to what the cries of the people are. So I say to you again, I hear you. And it comes September 9th, we're going to show you, hopefully. Thank you and have a great night.
Good evening, Council. I just wanted to take a moment to express my concern and support of the racial disparity that the residents in New Malville are facing. It's been far too long that they dealt not only with the public foundations, but also the stress of unknown toxins that may affect their health. I also want to take this moment to remember a good friend that I met along the way. Her name was Reverend Vanessa Brown. She has succumbed to her health issues and dealing with a lot of stress with the Kremlin Foundations, just many years of just back and forth with several administrations and just not having her voice heard. So I want to just take this moment on behalf of Reverend Vanessa Brown, just to express my, again, my support. And I just want this council, our administration, to take the cries of our community, our residents seriously, and to just continue to support them and make them whole. Thank you.
Again, my name is Donald Moses. Throughout the mayor's presentation, she touched upon relationships with new neighbors, the BRT, bus transit, and a few other projects. Now, New Haven, fastest growing industry in New Haven, engineering, life science, research and development, with a 581% growth from 2017, fueled by bioscience and tech advancement. Now, how does Hamden, as a friendly neighbor, capitalize on such economic growth and benefit from the overflow of such business? I mean, I'm quite sure many of you have driven through New Haven and you've driven down Front Road on 34. You've seen the kind of development and buildings that are going on there. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Science Park and have seen the development and the biotech businesses that are there. How do we capitalize on that as a friendly neighbor? I mean, I've had conversations with chamber members, you know, from economic development in New Haven, and there is a tremendous amount of overflow. You know, it would be nice to have some of those companies move to Hamden. What are we doing about it? Now, making commercial and industrial properties a key component of Hamden's economic development. Our lack of vision is preventing us from developing a plan to take advantage of our present resources, such as brownfield properties. Now, the State Department of Economic and Community Development, better known as DECD, has made many changes in the specifications and the simplifications of brownfield resources through the Office of Brownfield Remediation and Development, with state and federal incentives and technical assistance to municipalities. The objective of the Office of Brownfield Remediation and Development is to return brownfield sites to productive commercial, industrial, and mixed-use uses. These properties, added to the tax roll, will serve to increase and stabilize income streams in Hamden. The Connecticut General Statute, Section 1262, requires that municipalities conduct a revaluation of real property every 5 years, with the last evaluation completed in 2020. Therefore, the next revaluation should be done in October of 25. However, with 2025 being an election year, it was deemed prudent to move up the revaluation to October of 2024 for implementation in 2025, thereby creating an influx of cash to purport fiscal management. One may say there's nothing wrong with such Houdini method of governance, but I beg to differ, because from my perspective, it speaks to intent and deception. The present deemed method of governance has no plans for sustainability after budget year 2026. The mill rate will be reduced from 56 to 49. Right? Therefore, the illusional benefit of a mill rate reduction can easily turn into a nightmare. Let's make business, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, it's been 3 minutes.
Okay.
But I see that you have what you have in writing.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm basically done. I can have another minute, I'll be done.
Okay.
Let's make business development a line item on the economic and neighborhood development department budget. One of Hamden's greatest challenges should be to maintain the benefits of a mill rate reduction is to increase and stabilize income streams to Hamden. Let's focus on commercial and industrial properties and develop a plan to redevelop brownfield properties and return them to the tax roll. In the year of 2026 and moving forward, where do we expect to get the influx of cash from to be able to maintain that low mill rate? We're getting an influx of cash now because of the revaluation that took place. Okay? Therefore, when the tax bill goes up, people will be paying high taxes. There'll be an influx of cash. Where will the influx of cash come from in the next budget year, and the year after that, and the year after that? If we don't make preparations to stabilize income from the tax roll, rest assured, taxes will go back up.
All right. Do we have any other hands from our online audience? Any other hands from our online audience? I thought I saw one pop up. All right. BH, you have the floor.
Good evening. I live in Springland. Madam Mayor, you said that you are so proud of fixing the sidewalks. Springland neighborhood 33 has damaged sidewalks. The way they are done, they don't meet even disability criteria for people with disabilities. They are dangerous, they are sloppy done, and it is a waste of tax money payers. I also want to mention that the tax mill rate we're proposing, 46, will put every household in 3,000 or even higher in tax increase. There's so many old residents who are being forced by corporations selling their houses because they cannot afford taxes. How can you be even proud of such a low decrease? People were waiting for mill rate around 30, 33, maybe 35, to keep the taxes in line. Every resident will need the tax, and you are going to build community center for who? Please tell us for who. Because you are clearly not considering residents. The town is being greedy money, putting high pressure of increasing taxes on residents. For comparison, your property, you own like 0.5 acres, is appraised at less around 8,000. Neighborhood 33, 0.1 acre, is appraised over 100,000. While the land in neighborhood 33 is so high value, we don't have any privacy. Other neighborhood, 0.3 acres, is appraised at 50,000, when people in our neighborhood pay 5 times more. This is really disgraceful for those residents. And this is such a shame that you are being proud and you are telling that 46 will help residents to stay here. No, everybody will live in. I can tell you, Madison has a rate 22 mill rate. So if someone's house is appraised at 750,000, it will pay around 8,000 taxes. Someone's house at Springland at 250 will have to pay the same amount of taxes. And people on the water in Madison will pay the same taxes as the residents in Hamden. This is such a disgrace to the town and to every resident in this town who pays the taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. This is back to the audience. Are there any in-person members who'd like to hear public input?
Hi, Joy Wildman, Libby Drive. I just have two quick thoughts. Affordable housing, I haven't heard anything about seniors. I believe that I heard the waiting list for senior housing is 7 years. I could be wrong. Seniors don't have 7 years. That's disgusting. And all this affordable housing going on, nothing for seniors. Second thing is, and this is really just a thought, as far as transportation in the BOE budget, I don't know what that line item is, but kind of tired of seeing buses leaving schools with 2 and 3 kids in them. Cars parked ad infinitum. I think maybe we could cut the budget a little bit if we found out who's not going to put their kid on the bus every day, who's supposed to be on bus A, but those kids aren't going on bus A because their parents don't want them on the bus. And some parents, we all know that there are some parents who do not want their kids on buses. I was never one of those people. My kids went on the bus. But I think that's a place where we may get rid of a small bus and get rid of a big bus and get to a small bus. No, it's not easy, but it's something that really needs to be looked at. It's a waste of gas. It's not good for our air. It's not good for a lot of things. We're making modifications to accommodate cars outside of schools. So let's get a little smart about where our kids are being transported, who is transporting them, and let's think about how they are being transported. Okay, just those two thoughts.
Thank you, Ms. Dooley. I am taking a hand from my online audience. Any new hands from my online audience? Okay, I'm taking hands from my in-person audience. Any hands from my in-person audience? Last call for both my online and in-person audience. All right. At this time, I am now going to, hang on, one more. I'm going to open our space to speak. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm just want to question the mill rate that you want to propose for 46.61, which was 55.61. New Haven is 38.50. I'm just going through them now. Cheshire, the only one that's 46 is Woodbridge. Are you out of your mind? My pay doesn't go up $2,000 a raise a year. You're going to bring our tax dollars up 2,000? This is disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm done speaking.
Thank you for putting that in for all. All right. Any other in-person folks who would would like to give public input before we close? Okay, with that, I'm closing public input officially. And I am going to move on to our regular agenda. Our regular agenda for this budget delivery meeting is one item, and that item is all right, that item is to receive the mayor's 2025 to 2026 budget. Oh, hang on. Before you leave, please eat something. Please have some food. Please welcome yourself to a plate or two before you head out here. I know people have been very patient in this. All right, motion to accept the mayor's proposed budget.
So
Moved by Carmen, seconded by Kylie. Okay, we will have months to go and have discussion and ask particular questions, get input from our public, be able to have these conversations and really comb through the nuts and bolts of this presentation by looking at every single line. So, before we take a vote to accept this budget, folks like to discuss that? Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate your time this evening and recognizing me. I would like to say I'm going to accept to open the budget so we can begin the budget deliberations as a council tonight. But I also wanted to make sure that I go on the record this evening to let you know that representing the 5th District and especially the district with the Conway Foundations and the Community Center. We are deeply, I will tell you right now, I haven't spoken to anybody yet, but they'll be very, very upset with this presentation this evening. They're going to be asking for more money as a homeowner in the 5th District with their community and the condition and the homes the condition is in. So yes, I am going to be approving to open it so we can have this discussion over every single line item for this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Paul. Are there other folks on the council who would like to give a comment or input before we go to the budget?
I would say my comments or my concerns are more honest budgeting. We've seen issues with the revenue from last year between scale revenue, cannabis revenue, we haven't collected a dime yet, red light camera revenue, not approved for red light cameras. I think we need more, more added positions, raises, what the expenses go, $60 million. We just need more honest, but especially when it comes to budgets. That's my case.
Thank you, Councilperson Bigler. Are there any other comments before we vote to receive? Any other comments before we vote to receive? Okay, seeing none, we're going to take a vote. All those in favor of receiving this budget for 24-25, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you very much. The budget is received. We are now going to close this meeting so that we can begin our regular meeting. All right. Mr. Williams, you can give us the roll call for our 7 o'clock meeting.
Jerron Alston. Jerron Alston. Bob Anthony. Jim Anthony,
Here.
Rhonda Caldwell. Here. Sean Cardwell.
Present.
Tom Figler.
Here.
Sarah Gallagher. Here. Tasha Hunt. Here. Katie Kiley. Abdul Osmanu.
Here.
Ted Stevens.
Present.
Lori Sweet.
Here.
Adrian Weber.
Present.
Dominique Baez.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, starting up this meeting, we have our, public input. Is anyone who would like to give public input on regular things of the council? We have a lengthy consent calendar, we have a lot of things today that also public input. But if folks would like to give public input about regular things or anything that purview the council, please feel free. We have a first hand from our online audience, Vanessa. You are now able to speak. Go ahead.
Yes, I was kind of wondering, if the sixth district is going to be getting a replacement, representative. And I know you can't answer me, but I just thought I'd bring it up. Thank you. And if you want, I volunteer.